right. Well, hey, my name's Candace Clippard. I'm the executive director here at Day 7, and we've brought one of our amazing providers, Linda Zelnik, to the conversation today. Linda, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so we've just been doing some feedback with folks and I have really heard that people want to hear how other people are doing self-care these days. One particular topic, and we'll touch on a couple in the quick time we have together. But one particular topic is working from home with small kids. And so I know you've got your little one with you right now, and he may end up in the picture at some point in time, which is fine too if that happens, because that's the day that we're living in right now. So I'd love for you to just introduce yourself and the work that you do, and maybe kind of jump into what it's like to work at home right now and balance being a mom and working from home with a young child. What tips do you have for us?
Yes, thank you. So I'm a certified professional coach with the ICF and also the John Maxwell team. And I've been working from home now about 5 years. I started working from home when our daughter was born, and she gave me a new take on that. So before that, any day I would work from home, the challenge would be not getting wrapped up in other things that needed done, just around the house. But now it's my motivation is to make sure that I work and stay focused so that I can get it done and be with them during the time that I have with them. So be present with work and be present with them and just stay focused. So the main things that I would say have helped with that is simple. For me, I work better with boundaries and compartments, and so just designating what hours is for whom helps me do that the best. So that and then I have to be disciplined to stay true to that and not fluctuate between the two roles.
That is helpful, and I know it probably there's some overlap sometimes. I mean, you can't always control who's going to need what and when. So
Yes.
what about when that happens?
Yeah, well, one thing I've learned this go round, so we added and we have another child now. When we added the second child, what used to work didn't work anymore as far as separating the work-life balance or the work and the life. And with the second one, I've had to just hire a little bit more help. So I always tried to work when the first one was napping. Well, then she started napping less and less, and so then the work hours were in the evening, and that I could get it all done during those points and the days that I would go into the office. But with two, there are more demands, and there are more demands at home. So there's more demands at home, and then the demands I think on my work time vary as well. Just a minute, okay? So I've ended up hiring a mother's helper, and so my older one goes to a 2-day program, and then I have a mother's helper for a few hours. I've hired a little bit of support for every single day, and then I have found that I get up and I work before everybody else is up, and then I still have some time where I work in the evenings as well. So that's how I've been balancing it, and I am constantly looking at, is that successful? Is that working? Just kind of assessing so that I don't end up overextended and grumpy in ways that I don't want to be.
Yeah, well, it is helpful to know that I think we are all able to show each other some grace in this time and figuring it out together. Everybody's trying to balance various needs and things about working from home. You touched on a little bit, leading into the next question, tips. You're a helping professional yourself, and you've got all of these different things you're trying to balance. So what tips would you have to make sure you're taking care of yourself, while you're also taking care of others, both personally and professionally?
Yeah, that's a great question. So COVID has sent a spin on, these work-life boundaries that I had set up, in the fact that some days my childcare is quarantined. So I still have, even though I've set out a schedule that seems supportive and works, sometimes just that little bit of margin taken away can really be a challenge. And so I do try to build in margin and plan for ways to pivot when we have to, even further, even more than the ways we've already had to do that. Daily walks have been a huge part of this pandemic, just being out in the sunshine. Thankfully, we have had the most phenomenal weather this year. And so just getting sunshine on all of our faces, especially when one or all of us are grumpy, getting that physical exercise that goes along with that is huge. On the days that is really needed, we may go twice, but we for sure take a daily walk. And personally, I need a little bit more than that, because I am still, of course, in mom role when we're out walking, and I get up early and do meditation. And I have found that on the mornings I think, oh, I just need to stay in bed a little bit longer. It does not pay off to skip that. So it has become just a non-negotiable. And when I say meditation, it's 3 to 5 minutes. It's not long, because then I go into some of the other parts of my morning routine. But those are two of my big things for this, is just and the regularity is important.
Yeah, and we never regret it on the back end. We think on the front end, another coach put it one time, we have to do this, we have to eat healthy, we have to exercise, we have to, if we frame it in such a way of the have tos, it makes it one more thing we have to do. But if we think about it, from the back end mindset of like, how are we going to feel? How is it going to affect our day? Then we get to participate in those types of self-care routines. I was going to ask you, what is your favorite type of self-care? I mean, you mentioned being outside, you mentioned the meditation. Do you have anything else that's like a favorite that you fall back on?
Yes, we have a little family garden, and I would say that is my favorite, is just digging in the dirt and watching things grow, and the pruning aspect of that, of just, the lessons that go with that, of clearing things out that are old so that new can come in. I find a lot of inspiration from our garden.
Yeah, I think a lot of
Yeah.
people have been gardening.
Yes.
Or raising chickens, I've heard, is the other COVID activity people are learning about.
Yeah, we tried that several years ago and haven't gone into that in COVID, but it is fun.
So 2 more questions for you. One's a little bit off topic, and then we'll wrap up with just your final self-care tip for people to implement. But
Yeah.
right now I did want to ask, like, we're in a pandemic. We're just in a very difficult season as a country, with racial injustice, with the election. Just everything seems to be very tumultuous this year. And
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you, what tips do you have for self-care in just kind of processing the times that we're in right now?
Um, Sorry, I'm not sure if y'all are hearing all this noise or not.
A
Um,
little bit, and it's wonderful.
yes, we are between nap times right now. Um, so yeah, our hearts are heavy this year, especially. So life always has so many competing priorities, but especially in 2020. So not only do we have here in Nashville, the tumultuous times really started with a tornado, and then the pandemic came, and of course now we're in the middle of an uptick, and so where several months ago I didn't know anybody personally that had it. I think we all know quite a few people who do currently even. So hearts are heavy over that, and then also with the racial injustice. And one of my areas of specialty is cross cultural intelligence, and so I've just really thought about that side of things a lot. Our daughter is biracial. My heart really wants her to grow up in a world different than what is existing right now and has existed for so long. And so one thing I've shared for people who really have a heart to be a part of the solution for that is there's just the self-awareness and self-care that goes along with. Just a minute, are you okay? What would you like to do? Is an implicit bias test, and it's called the IAT with Harvard, and it's you can go to implicit.harvard.edu to take a test and just see where you are. There are some interesting things about the way they gather that data and the questions that people can argue about, but I do think the questions help you think about anything that's inside and where that might have come from, and how we have everybody has something in their heart that could be looked at and adjusted to grow more loving and kind towards all of our neighbors and friends and coworkers. And so that's something that have shared with a lot of people, is just one way to because change happens one person at a time. It happens first individually, and then it happens communally, and then it can get bigger on the grand scale. And so that's a tip for making a difference in that way. And then just being intentional about listening to people who believe different and look different and sound different, and with an open mind, I think is the biggest key there.
Yeah.
So
cool. Well, I'm going to look into that resource for sure. I mean, we have to be intentional to like check our own hearts, and we don't know about their implicit, we don't know
right.
what our biases are until we're really intentionally like digging in. And so I'm sure that'll be a extremely helpful resource. I appreciate you sharing that. So yeah, to wrap up, any 2-minute exercise tip, meditation, mindfulness activity that you would recommend to anybody who watches this, something that would be really easy, new little thing to incorporate into our self-care rhythm?
Yes, I started this actually in the fall, and it's a part of my every morning for sure. Sometimes I remember at bedtime too, but it's called the 4-7-8, and it's a breathing exercise. You can look up examples of it by Max Strom, or I'm forgetting Dr. Weil. I think his name is Andrew Weil. But anyway, you do a deep breath in for 4 counts, just as deep as you can. And then you hold that breath for 7 counts. And then you breathe out for 8 counts. And they encourage you to try it for 4 rounds of that. And no more than 8, just because of the way it changes, your breath and your heart rate and stuff. But it really does. It will not feel natural the first time you do it, but the more you do it, the more it just really kind of helps you slow down and alters your consciousness to give you some spaciousness and peace. And there's Dr. Weil will say that there's a connection between even like using this in the middle of the night to go back to sleep. So I know sometimes that's a struggle. You wake up, your mind starts getting busy. Well, what do you do to get that rest that you need? Or say you're having trouble, right off the bat trying to go to sleep. Just putting that in, there's something real specific that happens with your body when you pay attention to your breath, and it kind of readies your mind as well. It's a form of meditation in itself, and it takes 2 minutes. It's not long at all.
Yeah, that's great. Definitely. It's something that I've tried to put into practice more too, and still I'm not very good at it, but there is so much that happens in our bodies. We can trick ourselves out of that stress just by breathing, and
Yes.
the systems just have a total overhaul in our body. That's amazing.
Yes.
Concentrate
Yeah.
on breathing. So, well, thanks for sharing these tips. I'm excited to post them. As I mentioned, I think we're all kind of looking for other folks that are in it with us that we can kind of learn and pick up tips and tricks from. And I really appreciate you jumping in very spontaneously with us and bringing your special friend,
Yes.
another little guest into the interview with us for a second too. I mean, that's what we're talking about. So it was perfectly acceptable to have him jump in there with us. So thank you. And yeah, share how we can reach out to you if anyone wants to.
Thanks, Candace. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so I'm at altacoaching.com, and I help people get from where they are to where they want to be through a series of um, just reflection and goal setting and tweaking and celebration. And so I would love to hear from people. Linda at altacoaching.com.
All right, perfect. And we'll share that as well. Thanks so much for your time. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Candace. You too.
All
Bye.
right. Bye.